6th, it was the first settlement that got blown out by a hurricane. It was in front of what's that place, St. Augustine? It was ahead of them. So I have a couple of slides. Mikey Shelley, no surprise to you, he's got a couple of slides. And Roland Savage is not, and Frank is an independent, objective person that's going to be talking here. He has no slides. So with Roland, I was able to get a little bio. I printed Frank's from the internet, but you need to look at his website. It's iapololoftgroup.com. Because I'll just say this, Frank, the thing I can say is I've known him for years. We've been speakers together. I've introduced him before. The best thing I can say is he's a really smart guy. He lives in Orlando, and anything the people in this room need to know and need help with, he can do it. So I don't have any bio, but that's a good intro. So Roland's got a 30-year career in the securities industry with Prudential, American Stock Exchange, Fidelity Capital Markets, 15 years as a specialist at the American Stock Exchange, graduate of University of Chicago Business School. Roland has insights into the current state of the capital markets and is the managing director of an innovative platform for private companies and accredited investors. It's called the Private Company Marketplace. One of the things we're going to talk about here is a lot of people are discouraged about the equities market. So is it real? Is it not? I've had some really interesting conversations with Roland. He thinks it's not real anymore, and he's trying to find an alternative. It's all right now, the way it's passing. And as the agenda said, it's a time bomb. So what are we going to do about it? What this panel started out, just so you understand why we're here this morning, what it's all about, and what we're doing. We've been doing, Mikey and I have been going around to a number of conferences, conferenced out this year. We have been to at least 8 or 10. And we found a couple that we were impressed with. The board of NIBA was trying to find some new direction and trying to build a platform that had maybe a little more zest to it and bring some new innovations. So they were trying to figure out a way to change the format, which is what you're experiencing today, of the 10 minutes, the 120-minute breakout, and then what we do today. So we told her that some of the conferences that we went to that really had a draw, had more focus, and they had a core of their business enterprise. It was real estate. They had a day that was solid on it. But then they also had like a half day or close to a half day that brought in good regulators, that had good exchange of information, good education, valuable things that you could leave with. PowerPoints you wanted to bring home with you. Information that was going to help us on a daily basis. Regulators that you could sit down and talk to, and that supposedly you could close the doors and not turn the cameras on and get an honest dialogue. Well, some of the things like that worked, some of them didn't. The honest dialogue behind the closed doors, I think it was a good effort. But at the end of the day, they said, well, look, this new Dodd-Frank bill, what we have is a lot of comments, like several thousand, multiple thousands, 6,000, 7,000, and we haven't had a chance to read them. So we're not really going to be real definitive and real clear. We haven't finished making the rules or deciding what we're doing. We're trying to do that now. But Joe Price from FINRA said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to read all these, and then we can have a further dialogue. So today is just a groundbreaking, and it's to set up a dialogue between you guys and a panel and me on behalf of NIBA, and then ultimately it'll go to the board to say that on Fridays we're going to try to focus and bring in some talent, bring in some new blood and ideas, and go from education of different topics that we need, 101, 201, to 301, and get more intense so that we have some meaty things that we, as these rules are being made, we can be on the leading edge. To start off this morning was supposed to be Senator Oxley's law partner was coming. And then we had the idea, well, okay, that'll be good. And we can find out what they have in his mind, because he said, I can tell you, kind of where Oxley's going. And then it was, okay, we'll get somebody from the SEC, somebody from FINRA, and Oxley, so we'll have sort of the industry, Congress, and SEC and FINRA. But that was just about 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago, and frankly, it was just too much, too fast to get the clearances. But what we do have is February. We have, I think, Joe Price from FINRA, a top flight guy who's going to be, he's pretty candid, I think, might be as best as it could be with what he had available to him. And he didn't shy away from the questions. They'll be here in February. I talked to this lady in Washington, D.C. from the SEC. Pretty sure she or somebody that is in that immediate corporate finance area that's important to us is coming. This guy in California, Preston Fugard, who is the commissioner, state commissioner for the state issues, he was really good at this last conference. And I think he'll be here. So the idea is that in February, we're going to have someone from the SEC, somebody from FINRA, somebody from the state financial regulatory body, and possibly we'll have somebody on the congressional side, like Oxford or this law partner coming in. So today we said, look, since the panel didn't come together at the last minute, which we didn't think it would, let's go ahead and have a panel. Let's lay out what we're doing. Let's explain what we're trying to accomplish. And let's get the best ideas that we can in the room so that when February comes around, we can fine-tune this new conference structure and make sure that Friday is really stellar. And when we bring these regulators in here, they see that we have it happening in place. So I've been thinking about, yesterday, I was thinking about Mike Shilia's presentation, which I thought was excellent, and thinking about some of the people that are in this room that I had conversations with. And then I remembered back to Ken Kamen. I was right there when the law firm was sitting down at the table. I was there when they drafted the congressional testimony. And I remember how much it cost. And I remember how hard it was. And even when you get in the door, how slow the process starts. And I started thinking about this, a couple of these other conferences, and thinking, well, what can we, a small organization, do to get a voice and to have some significant changes? And I was thinking, Congress passes the laws. Now, I was a trial lawyer for a long time, and you think about the law that Congress passes, it really boils down to the interpretation. And the interpretation, if you bring it down to the lowest level, on the criminal side, it's the police and the DA, their subjective interpretation of how they want to interpret and apply the law for how reality works. If it's from a civil perspective with rules about federal regulators, it's going to be FINRA and their auditors coming into your office and what they're telling their auditors how to interpret this and how to make this thing work. So I thought, okay, we saw what happened in this other conference, and we saw the dialogue again. I thought, let's go down to the police level, let's go down to the DA level, let's go down to the day in, day out. So let's bring the regulators to the people. So think about it. While the people, we don't know the cross-section of whose brother-in-law you know in this room and who we really can get to in Congress. I can tell you I had dinner not too long, just in the past week or so, and had no idea there's two funny guys who were having a blast at dinner, kind of like Wayne and I did last night, and found out that these guys funded, had a private party for that up-and-coming Republican senator. I can't remember his name. The young, dynamic Rubio. No, he's like he's already elected. But anyway, and it was like, yeah, he's our cousin. And so the family got together, and we had like 200 people. We raised $100,000 in our neighborhood and with all the people. And, we talk to him every week, and we can get him. He's interested, but, we have to be prepared. I was thinking, we just don't know who knows who. So while the congressional side is developing, and all of us are introducing, whether it's Frank, or Roland, or Mikey, or Jim Hawk, or whoever's going to be doing this congressional stuff, we can set the stages for each of our conferences in August, February, and bring the regulators here, have a looking at other successful conferences, have a friendly, non-accusatory, non-confrontational dialogue, have them come up and do their presentation, have them sit down at the panel discussion, and try to get them to tell us what rules have they made off the Dodd-Frank and the SEC instructions. What is their interpretation? What is their thinking? Try to get some clarity. And then we can, in turn, have some breakouts with the regulators to sit down and have things prepared to hand to them and say, look, if you could apply it this way, if you could interpret it that way, instead of having to think the only battle we have to win is Congress, maybe it's kind of like, having the police issue a warning ticket as opposed to a ticket that goes on the record, to try to make an analogy. So I just think that one of the things that and I'm just throwing this out as a suggestion, that if we could have a parallel course of action. If we focused on February and having the beginning of a new dialogue, we used to have those kind of dialogues with the regulators way back when. When I was chairman, we had plenty of interactivity. But, with 9/11 and all the chaos, and then it just kind of went another way. So maybe that's a possibility to bring it back. So my opinion, just for suggestion, is Congress is secondary and expensive. So let's try to do something right away, right now, that we have everyone in the room and focus on bringing people in here and telling them what we think they can do right now, right away. So because Joe Price gave us the impression that when he went back to his office and he read all of the comments, that he was going to give serious consideration and make recommendations to their committee as to how to handle them and how to apply them. So I watched this biography about Ben and Jerry, ice cream, and it was really interesting that when Jerry kind of got away from the ice cream company to go do his thing for a couple of 3 years, when Haagen-Dazs tried to put him out of business because they were getting too much attention, Ben called Jerry, and Jerry went out of semi-retirement as a one-man ticket, and he was the only guy with a sign. And they called up the media, and the media came out and asked him what his ticket issues were, and he explained that David Goliath Haagen-Dazs was trying to put him out of business. And you might think it's crazy, but they showed the footage going back, a couple of decades. One news TV station picked it up, the newspaper picked it up. Next thing you know, it went nationwide, and Ben and Jerry's got national exposure, and the rest is history. So there's no reason why we can't have our one sign, our picket, or a friendly dialogue and really have an influence. So that's just what I'm thinking, put in your mind to be thinking.